Okay, so Dorsey finally has been named CEO, and he mentions, I've got to make the user experience better. How?
Well, I mean, part of it is that he's come back to the company, but he's a product guy. He's a technologist. And this was inevitable because what this company really needs to do is to focus on its core user experience. And some of the things he's going to be dealing with is whether or not they should limit you to 140 characters. Is there going to be a lot more advertising in the stream, or are they going to take advantage of the buy button? And how much are they going to be able to bring together other feeds? So this comes back to something you have to keep checking multiple times a day.
You do. You have to keep checking multiple times a day. I hear you on the 140 character, limit. Do you think they should get rid of that?
I do, because it's been replaced by messaging. And messaging has become, in a lot of ways, the dominant paradigm on the web now. And think about billions of people now who today have messaging. So Twitter, it's got to be about a better news source. It's got to be about sharing a great deal of more information.
But it's also really hard to use. I mean, as people anecdotally say all the time, can't get my mother or my grandmother to use it, right? I mean, I can get my mother to use Facebook and Instagram, but I can't get her to use Twitter.
Actually, I think that's the part of the user experience that should be the easiest, which it's really not hard to go there and just scroll through. It may be a little bit more difficult to tweet, but that's not really what it's set up for.
Yeah.
It's set up more for you to be able to follow people that have opinions or suggesting news stories to you, rather than it being a personal communication.
That's exactly right. It's like a news feed. I mean, it's basically a feed, right? I mean, but it's more than just news stories. It's just what everyone is talking about around certain
It's what
events.
people are thinking around events.
Yeah.
It's about those conversations, but they're conversations that are relevant to a broader set of people. Facebook's more about what I'm doing personally. Twitter has become more about what I'm thinking about the world.
And Instagram is about how fabulous my life is.
Exactly.
Now, Jack Dorsey, though, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit when I saw these articles this morning. It's like, is Jack Dorsey, making a Steve Jobs entrance here? He was kicked out of his company after the spat with Evan Williams, and now he's back as the hero.
Well, these comparisons are inevitable, but there's some big differences, which was Apple was really in trouble. Twitter is more about finding its way. But the similarity is they were both product people. They were both people that focused on the user. Mm-hmm. And why was this inevitable for Jack Dorsey? Partly because it's hard to find people that are product people who will want to run these companies.
Yeah.
So they could have searched all over the place, and they wouldn't have been able to find a business person who was as qualified. And if they had hired a business person, one thing would have been sure: they wouldn't have lasted there very long.
Maybe it speaks to the fact, Michael, that in tech companies, maybe you do need a product person to run a tech company. Maybe this is maybe one area that's come to light here.
Well, the tech companies with the best technologists win.
Yeah.
And Twitter has an incredibly great technology team, but it requires somebody like Jack Dorsey to inspire them to keep them there.
Speaking about products, Apple Pay. I know we had booked you initially to talk about Apple Pay because they've got the 1 month anniversary of using this. I have finally downloaded Apple Pay myself, and I have to say that there's a distinct lack of places that use Apple Pay. I'm not impressed. And neither are a lot of people.
Right, but the bigger issue is it's not part of people's established behavior. Yes, everyone's got a phone in their pocket, but there isn't necessarily a rationale to use it. And the latest thing, your story today says the reason is because if you're using your card, it has to stay in the register with the new chips during the entire transaction. So it slows it down. It actually doesn't slow it down. You put it in at the beginning and take it out at the end. The bigger issue is it's just not something that people are thinking about naturally. And it's going to be better suited to places where it really is quick serve. So you can understand why it's going to be in fast food restaurants, places where you want to get in and get out quickly. It's going to take a long time for it to build as a behavior. And we're going to see a lot of these other companies, Android Pay, Samsung Pay, And let's expect PayPal is going to come down the road with its own version.
With something, right?
Exactly.
So is that what it needs, though? It just needs, more companies going into the fray. It just needs to get more people involved. I mean, that's all this is then?
It's not clear. It's likely to grow a lot slower, and it's not just about the merchant locations. It's also going to be about getting people to have the expectation that this is going to be a way that they pay, either with their phone or with their Apple Watch.
Have you been impressed lately with Apple's products?
The products are great, and I'm looking forward to the iPad Pro, the new phone. Some of the new interactions on the phone
Although
are
the initial
incredible.
numbers on the phone are not that great. They're not blowing records.
Well, they have a massive installed base, so there isn't necessarily a rationale for why I have to hand in my current phone. There's going to always be a segment of the population that wants to have the newest and greatest. This is going to come down more in terms of as people's contracts expire and there's more refreshment.
All right, Michael, before we go, something fun. I was at the movies over the weekend and I saw that Steve Jobs trailer. Have you seen it yet?
I've seen the Steve Jobs trailer, and
it's like yet another film on Steve Jobs.
Well, the difference is this one provides a more balanced view.
It does.
Rather than him being like the superstar who can do no wrong, this film is much more about the reality of the man.
Kind of makes him look like a villain from the scenes that I saw. But anyway.
Well, anybody that's going to run a technology company has to be uncompromising about user experience, and that was really what was the most important part of Steve Jobs.